I'm Kevin Price with your Price Point Edition. Do want to remind you to check me out over at priceofbusiness.com. That's home for my radio program, The Price of Business, on Business Talk 1110 AM in Houston, Texas, and also at usdailyreview.com, the national website, news website that I am the publisher and editor-in-chief of. Make sure you check them both out. Today I want to talk about the shocking news I saw in which I found out that Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee became a Democrat. This was shocking to me. Not so much that he became a Democrat, but I already thought he was. In fact, I thought Lincoln Chafee was a Democrat for decades, even when he had an R after his name. Lincoln Chafee, when he served in the Senate, one of the most liberal members of the U.S. Senate, hardly a hair's difference between him and any of his more liberal Democrat colleagues. He got beat soundly and became an independent, got beat soundly when he ran for U.S. Senate, became an independent re-election, and now has decided that he is, in fact, a Democrat. And so his father was a liberal Republican for many, many years, tolerated as a liberal Republican, but guess what? There's very little tolerance in the GOP for the rank and file for liberal Republicans. And so I think Lincoln Chafee got the message that his father never really actually heard. Again, more tolerance, if you will. Is it good or bad for the GOP that it's crowding people out that really don't share their larger principles? And I think it's a fantastic idea. I think if you're not going to be a Republican, I think that if you're going to only have a Republican after your name, but not in your policies and your practice and your ideas, you really need to go ahead and become a Democrat. We need to have a more clean and honest ballot system. And I'm hoping that the GOP continues to move to the right. Here's the problem today, is that there is essentially one major ideology driving American politics today, and it is progressive. And what you have is that the Democrats equal progressive, and the Republicans equal progressive light. And so the Democrats want to get to full-scale socialism in hours, maybe nanoseconds, whereas the Republicans want to do it over weeks, months, and some arguably years. But very, very few are willing to adhere to and move towards first principles. What do I mean? First principles, like Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, which limits the role of federal government to 17 specific powers. What about the 10th Amendment, which says what's not in the Constitution should be left to the citizens and the states? Little concepts like that. And, when you look at the U.S. Constitution, it's an incredibly small document. It takes no time whatsoever to read. Yet it is extremely powerful. The role of government is extremely powerful, extremely strong, but incredibly narrow. It's only supposed to do a very few things, and hopefully do those things well. Today we have a federal government that does virtually everything, and virtually none of them well. In fact, I'd be hard-pressed to come up with much of anything they do well. People could say military. Guess what? They're the only ones who can do military. If any other institution did it, we'd have a problem. That's why the Constitution gave the government the right to do military. But would you like to talk about inefficiencies in the military? Really? And so even some of the most conservative Republicans have pointed out that you could gut by 20% the military's budget and in waste, pure waste. And I wouldn't suggest that, simply because the morons who would do that would end up cutting the stuff we actually need. And so when I look at the situation out there, Lincoln Chafee, let me just say, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm Kevin Price. That's my price point. I'd love to hear yours. Email me at info@usdailyreview.com.